And we begin just as the presumed Republican nominee prepares to park the Romney bus after wrapping up his 6-state tour this afternoon in where else but Michigan. Yes, the place where the trees are exactly the right height, and it brings to an end 5 days of glorious pancake flipping, riverboat riding and the touch-tone purchasing of sandwiches. Indeed, embraced in the warm arms of one of his many home states, Romney's been so full of the campaign spirit that he started leaking out the odd truism out there on the trail.
This is so much fun. It's so much fun running for president. I got to tell you, it is fun being here with you. We're doing this together. This is not about me. This is not about me. You're not here because I'm some spectacular speaker. Y'all know better than that. You're not here just because the Republican Party is the answer to all things. You know better than that.
See what I mean? He's getting dangerously close to an honest word there. And wait, there's more. Check out what happened when Willard made one of his impromptu visits to the press corps at the back of Air Mitt.
What's the best piece of advice on those rope lines that you think you received from somebody?
Stop trying to be like yourself. Be someone else. Just don't be you. Just kidding.
Just don't be you. Just kidding? Or is he? I mean, imagine what it must be like for Mitt to have to leave the world of car elevators, dressage events, his much-beloved quiet rooms, and enter into this.
Mitt Cherry Pie Romney.
Where do you get your hoagies here? Do you get them at Wawa's? Is that what you get them? Oh, yeah. Chicken and, noodles. There's good German food right here. Did you see that? That was water dropping down from the ceiling. Did you see that? It's so hot on here, the building is sweating.
Guys, I'm told I've got to go upstairs for a moment. They're going to get a picture of me piloting the boat.
Push-button drive. It's got push-button drive. You ever remember those things? You just press with which gear you want it.
I guess there's a good deal of fish and so forth, even in the wintertime.
Gov's playing a little prank on the press while they're off their bus.
And I put down P.S. I erased your hard drives. The computers are there.
I'd lost it. I was completely guffawing.
Well, it's a good thing he's learning to laugh about it. I mean, nowadays, he has to refer to his personal valet as his body man. The gross indignity of it all. But he's got to hope all the glad handing and the ice cream and the questionable local baked goods are worth it. The latest polls, after all, show President Obama leading in, about 8 of those crucial swing states. Mitt, better tell your body man, you're going to need more hand sanitizer. We've got a terrific Tuesday panel with us, which is already laughing. With me here in New York, MSNBC contributor Joy-Ann Reid, who's the managing editor of thegrio.com, and MSNBC political analyst David Corn, Washington bureau chief of Mother Jones magazine, the author of the best-selling and international brilliant Showdown, and Ken Vogel, chief investigative reporter for Politico from the Politico newsroom in Arlington. Stop laughing, David. Now, it appears that Mitt Romney...
I'm not laughing, I'm guffawing.
Yeah, you're guffawing. OK, you're guffawing. But here's the thing. The heat is beginning to affect the building and Mitt. He says campaign as someone else. He says he's not a scintillating speaker and Republicans don't have all the answers. Explain what is happening.
I give him points for honesty.
Good man.
He's been watching your show. Finally, the truth is seeping out. I mean, the thing is, David Axelrod, has said this to me and other reporters and on public, that a campaign is a giant magnifying glass. It's really hard to hide your true self, under the spotlight, doing this again and again and again, particularly when you have a hard schedule like a bus tour and you're going around and you have to deal with commoners. I mean voters, and so you show your certain sides of your personality, and I think you see that with Mitt. We see he's not very good at talking on his feet. He doesn't engage well with people, and you saw that with the tremendous interview that my pal Bob Schieffer did with him on the weekend, where he couldn't answer a simple and the only political question on anyone's mind last weekend about whether he would undo or whether he supported Obama's move on the DREAM Act. I mean, the fact that he didn't have a thought about it to convey, I mean, this stuff eventually adds up to show us what he's really all about.
Did you believe, Joy, that chicken noodle soup was a German delicacy? Because that was what he said.
Well, I think you guys are being really unfair. I mean, the gentleman who programmed Romney in the 1950s did so before the age of modern computing. Right. Therefore, a lot of the modern input just wasn't available to him when the programming took place. So I think we need to evaluate.
Software?
Well, you know what? I think Romney's been very busy with his wife's dressage. Yeah. Right? There's a lot to do when you're running for president.
There is.
I mean,
but here's the thing, Joy. To David's point, he can't answer the question on the president's position in relation to the children of illegal immigrants. But could it be because 64% support the move in a new Bloomberg poll? I mean, independents are favouring it by more than 2 to 1.
Yeah, but Republicans still oppose it. That's the other piece in that poll. Romney's base is so hard fixed into a position against any sort of immigration reform that if he moves even slightly off of it, his worry is that he won't get the turnout from his own base. There won't be the passion there. So he's always got to balance trying to bring in more independents with trying to keep the passion of his base. Imagine how the base would erupt if Romney were to suddenly come out for something that they consider to be amnesty.
Yes, indeed. Ken, the president won 67% of the Latino vote in 2008, as you know. The population is only growing. I mean, what's a Mitt Romney to do by way of courting a crucial demographic, especially in those swing states that we've been looking at? What does he do?
Well, it's a tough situation for him, there's no doubt, Martin. And President Obama's action on the executive order makes it all the tougher. It really put him in a box. There's no desirable course for him to take on it. He was critical of the president on the process issue, suggesting that he would like to see a more permanent approach towards dealing with this problem. But when he was pressed, as you mentioned, as David mentioned, by Bob Schieffer, he couldn't come up with an answer to it. And in fact, his surrogates in recent days on your airways have been pressed. Luke Russert did a pretty good job with Senator Ron Johnson yesterday morning, asking him repeatedly, yes or no, do you support this executive order? And he just wouldn't answer it. And that just shows how difficult of a situation this is for Mitt Romney. I'm not really sure there is a whole lot he can do because he did tack so far right on this issue and a few other key ones that are really of significance to the Republican base. There's not much in the way of returning to the center on them, particularly immigration. Some have suggested that maybe Marco Rubio would be a way to appease Hispanics, but I'm not really sure if that's going to do the trick as much as taking a stand on this particular issue, this executive order on deportations, which really highlights his struggles on this issue.
David, if Mitt Romney has a problem with Hispanics, he also has a bit of a problem with African-American voters. We've learned now that he's going to be addressing the NAACP convention in Houston next month. Why?
Well, some of his best friends are African-American owners of NASCAR teams.
That's right.
I mean,
what is this?
Well, the NAACP for years, for decades, had a tradition of Republicans and Democrats coming to speak to them, and there was some problem with George W. Bush for a number of years, not showing up, and it got kind of testy. I welcome that speech. I want to see what case Mitt Romney's going to make when he talks about, getting rid of, cutting the budget so there'll be fewer Head Start positions, fewer lunch programs. Now, some of these obviously are not just African-American programs, but African-Americans are disproportionately low income, so they benefit them more. So I want to see him defend that. And I hope he takes questions.
No, that's impossible. What's he going to say?
Well, I mean, here's the thing. I think doing these kinds of addresses, talking to the NAACP, it's not about black voters. I think Romney and his team understand they aren't going to get more than maybe 4 or 5% of the African-American vote, if that, because the Republicans have created a tone in relation to Barack Obama that is so offensive, even to African-Americans who are themselves critical of Obama. The birtherism, just the nastiness of it has made it hard for any Republican. That said, it's really about swing voters again. It's about appealing to white swing voters and suburban voters by saying, you know what, I'm not so far right. I'll go and talk to the NAACP. Exactly. What would he say? He'll probably say some platitudes about education. That's usually the safest way to go.
Do you think he'll do Who Let the Dogs Out, as he did with those African-American kids?
I think he should try it.
He should try that. Ken, isn't it the truth, though, that what the Republicans are really going to do with this election, knowing that there's now so little time to change, as Joy says, the tone, is they're going to suppress the vote. They're going to bombard Hispanic communities with negative advertising. We've got individual states who have already been motioning towards a voter suppression. That's how they're going to pull this off, if they're able to, isn't it?
Well, I don't see a whole lot of movement on voter ID or anything like that that is going to have an impact that can be implemented between now and the election. But I do see negative ads as a strategy being taken by both sides to suppress the other side's base. And we see it with President Obama and the super PAC supporting him going on the air in Colorado, Nevada, Florida, states with big Hispanic populations, with Spanish language ads that are negative attacks on the other guy. And we're just going to continue to see more of that. One quick point, though, on Mitt Romney sort of loosening up on this bus tour. I actually think that it's something that he has to do, and in certain situations, he's kind of okay when he admits, hey, I'm not the most scintillating speaker. That's not why you guys are here to see me. There's something charming, a little bit endearing about it. It kind of shows us a little bit of the human side of it. He does have to be careful, though, because in these unscripted situations are where he's also been prone to more significant gaffes that have also been seen to be revelatory about who he is.
I mean, George W. Bush did that kind of well in 2000. It was like, Gore's the brainiac. I'm not a brainiac. I'm a regular type of guy. But he was able to sort of pull it off with his beer and sports. I'm on a baseball team, and I'm the okay son of a family that people tend to like. I mean, Mitt Romney still is, more of the 1% and of that cultural milieu that makes it harder for him to pull it off. He has to get better because he can't get much worse. I'm just surprised that after campaigning in 2007 and campaigning for the last 2-3 years now, he still isn't more loose and better at it, because almost every candidate in any race, from city council to president, gets better as a candidate.
They do generally learn.
And the other problem is that in the case of George W. Bush, he was running as sort of his own personality. The problem for Romney is he's almost incidental to his campaign. He's running to be brand ex-Republican for people who are really coming out to vote because they don't like Barack Obama. So defining himself is almost not relevant.
It's almost irrelevant.